Book 4. At 400 miles they stopped to eat. At 1,000 miles they pitched their camp. They had traveled for just 3 days and nights, a 6 weeks' journey for ordinary men. When the sun was setting, they dug a well. They filled their water skins with fresh water. Gilgamesh climbed to the mountaintop. He poured out flour as an offering and said, "Mountain, bring me a favorable dream." Enkidu did the ritual for dreams, praying for a sign. A gust of wind passed. He built a shelter for the night, placed Gilgamesh on the floor, and spread a magic circle of flour around him, then sprawled like a net across the doorway. Gilgamesh sat there with his chin on his knees, and sleep overcame him, as it does all men. At midnight he awoke. He said to Enkidu, "What happened? Did you touch me? Did a god pass by? What makes my skin creep? Why am I cold?" "Enkidu, dear friend, I have had a dream, a horrible dream. We were walking in a gorge, and when I looked up, a huge mountain loomed, so huge that we were as small as flies. Then the mountain fell down on top of us. Dear friend, tell me, what does this mean?" Enkidu said, "Don't worry, my friend. The dream you had is a favorable one. The mountain stands for Humbaba. He will fall just like that mountain. Lord Shamash will grant us victory. We will kill the monster and leave his corpse on the battlefield." Gilgamesh, happy with his good dream, smiled, and his face lit up with pleasure. At 400 miles they stopped to eat. At 1,000 miles they pitched their camp. They filled their water skins with fresh water. They had traveled for just 3 days and nights, a 6 weeks' journey for ordinary men. When the sun was setting, they dug a well. They filled their water skins with fresh water. They stood at the edge of the cedar forest, gazing, silent. There was nothing to say. Book 5. They stood at the edge of the cedar forest, marveling at the great height of the trees. They could see before them a well-marked trail beaten by Humbaba as he came and went. From far off, they saw the cedar mountain sacred to Ishtar, where the gods dwell, the slopes of it steep and rich in cedars with their sharp fragrance and pleasant shade. Gripping their axes, their knives unsheathed, they entered the forest and made their way through the tangle of thorn bushes underfoot. Suddenly, Enkidu was seized by terror. His face turned pale like a severed head. He said to Gilgamesh, "Dear friend, I cannot continue. I am frightened. I cannot go on. You go into the dreadful forest. You kill Humbaba and win the fame. I will return now to great-walled Uruk, and all men will know what a coward I have been." Gilgamesh answered, "Dear friend, dear brother, I cannot kill Humbaba alone. Please stay here with me. Stand at my side. 2 boats lashed together will never sink. A 3-ply rope is not easily broken. If we help each other and fight side by side, what harm can come to us? Let us go on and attack the monster. We have come so far. Whatever you are feeling, let us go on." Enkidu said, "You have never met him, so you don't know the horror that lurks ahead. But when I saw him, my blood ran cold. His teeth are knife-sharp. They stick out like tusks. His face, blood-smeared, is a lion's face. He charges ahead like a raging torrent, his forehead ablaze. Who can withstand him? I am terrified. I cannot go on." Gilgamesh said, "Courage, dear brother. This is no time to give in to fear. We have come so far, across so many mountains, and our journey is about to reach its goal. You were raised in the wild. With your own hands you have killed marauding lions and wolves. You are brave. Your heart has been tested in combat. Though your arms feel weak now, and your legs tremble, you are a warrior. You know what to do. Shout out your battle cry. Let your voice pound like a kettle drum. Let your heart inspire you to be joyous in battle, to forget about death. If we help each other and fight side by side, we will make a lasting name for ourselves. We will stamp our fame on men's minds forever." They walked deep into the cedar forest, gripping their axes, their knives unsheathed, following the trail that Humbaba had made. They came within sight of the monster's den. He was waiting inside it. Their blood ran cold. He saw the two friends. He grimaced. He bared his teeth. He let out a deafening roar. He glared at Gilgamesh. "Young man," he said, "you will never go home. Prepare to die." Dread surged through Gilgamesh. Terror flooded his muscles. His heart froze. His mouth went dry. His legs shook. His feet were rooted to the ground. Enkidu saw his dismay and said, "Dear friend, great warrior, noble hero, don't lose courage. Remember this, 2 boats lashed together will never sink. A 3-ply rope is not easily broken. If we help each other and fight side by side, what harm can come to us? Let us go on." They advanced to the monster's den. Humbaba charged out, roaring at them, and said, "I know you, Gilgamesh. Don't be a fool. Go away. Leave the cedar forest. Have madmen told you to confront me here? I will tear you limb from limb. I will crush you and leave you bloody and mangled on the ground. And you, Enkidu, you son of a fish or a turtle, you gutless, fatherless spawn who never suckled on mother's milk. I saw you in the pastures when you were young. I saw you graze with the wandering herds, but I didn't kill you. You were too scrawny. You wouldn't have made a decent meal, and now you dare to lead Gilgamesh here? You both stand before me looking like a pair of frightened girls. I will slit your throats. I will cut off your heads. I will feed your stinking guts to the shrieking vultures and crows." Gilgamesh backed away. He said, "How dreadful Humbaba's face has become. It is changing into 1,000 nightmare faces, more horrible than I can bear. I feel haunted. I am too afraid to go on." Enkidu answered, "Why, dear friend, do you speak like a coward? What you just said is unworthy of you. It grieves my heart. We must not hesitate or retreat. 2 intimate friends cannot be defeated. Be courageous. Remember how strong you are. I will stand by you. Now let us attack." Gilgamesh felt his courage return. They charged at Humbaba like 2 wild bulls. The monster let out a deafening cry. His roar boomed forth like a blast of thunder. He stamped, and the ground burst open. His steps split the mountains of Lebanon. The clouds turned black. A sulphurous fog descended on them and made their eyes ache. Then Shamash threw strong winds at Humbaba, the south wind, the north wind, the east and the west, storm wind, gale wind, hurricane, tornado, to pin him down and paralyze his steps. He could not move forward, could not retreat. Gilgamesh saw it. He leaped upon him. He held a knife to Humbaba's throat. Humbaba said, "Gilgamesh, have mercy. Let me live here in the cedar forest. If you spare my life, I will be your slave. I will give you as many cedars as you wish. You are king of Uruk by the grace of Shamash. Honor him with a cedar temple and a glorious cedar palace for yourself. All this is yours if only you spare me." Enkidu said, "Dear friend, don't listen to anything that the monster says. Kill him before you become confused." Humbaba said, "If any mortal, Enkidu, knows the rules of my forest, it is you. You know that this is my place, and that I am the forest's guardian. Enlil put me here to terrify men, and I guard the forest as Enlil ordains. If you kill me, you will call down the gods' wrath, and their judgment will be severe. I could have killed you at the forest's edge. I could have hung you from a cedar and fed your guts to the shrieking vultures and crows. Now it is your turn to show me mercy. Speak to him. Beg him to spare my life." Enkidu said, "Dear friend, quickly, before another moment goes by, kill Humbaba. Don't listen to his words. Don't hesitate. Slaughter him. Slit his throat before the great god Enlil can stop us. Before the great gods can get enraged, Enlil in Nippur, Shamash in Larsa, establish your fame so that forever men will speak of brave Gilgamesh who killed Humbaba in the cedar forest." Knowing he was doomed, Humbaba cried out, I curse you both, because you have done this. May Enkidu die, may he die in great pain. May Gilgamesh be inconsolable, may his merciless heart be crushed with grief." Gilgamesh dropped his axe, appalled. Enkidu said, "Courage, dear friend. Close your ears to Humbaba's curses. Don't listen to a word. Slaughter him, now." Gilgamesh, hearing his beloved friend, came to himself. He yelled, he lifted his massive axe, he swung it, it tore into Humbaba's neck, the blood shot out. Again the axe bit flesh and bone, the monster staggered, his eyes rolled, and at the axe's third stroke he toppled like a cedar and crashed to the ground. At his death roar, the mountains of Lebanon shook, the valleys ran with his blood, for 10 miles the forest resounded. Then the two friends sliced him open, pulled out his intestines, cut off his head with its knife-sharp teeth and horrible, bloodshot, staring eyes. A gentle rain fell onto the mountains. A gentle rain fell onto the mountains. They took their axes and penetrated deeper into the forest. They went chopping down cedars. The wood chips flew. Gilgamesh chopped down the mighty trees. Enkidu hewed the trunks into timbers. Enkidu said, "By your great strength you have killed Humbaba, the forest's watchman. What could bring you dishonor now? We have chopped down the trees of the cedar forest. We have brought to earth the highest of the trees, the cedar whose top once pierced the sky. We will make it into a gigantic door, 100 feet high and 30 feet wide. We will float it down the Euphrates to Enlil's temple in Nippur. No man shall go through it, but only the gods. May Enlil delight in it. May it be a joy to the people of Nippur." They bound logs together and built a raft. Enkidu steered it down the great river. Gilgamesh carried Humbaba's head.